All right, guys, we're gonna get started. So, what makes Melting of the Heads different than other events, among other things, as you can kind of tell being here, is that we take the time, energy, and effort to get some of the makers. We hope to get all, but juggling people's schedules, you can never get everybody. But we collect makers ahead of time before the event. We congregate at a specified site, and we work on material utilizing equipment from our sponsors. And so this year, it was Hashtag and Access that really stepped up in the lab, as well as Press Club. And big shouts out to those guys. I mean, huge shouts out to those guys. So the entire premise of this is that to give you guys as much value as possible. And so bring the subject matter experts into the room that you guys hold in high regard, have them work on the equipment that you want to learn about, and then you get the opportunity to hear from the horse's mouth what their opinions are on it, and then you ask them questions about what their observations were when they had their hands on the equipment. So that is what Melting of the Heads is, among, a pretty cool event in itself. But this year we were able to secure a home lab, which is really, I think, suiting for New York State and what's happening here on a much more newer and organic level. So shout out to Shaggy and Shaggy's wife. Big love, bro. He welcomed us into his home. I don't think he's met any of us. And we were greeted with just love and kindness, and it was so great getting to spend a day with him. So we were able to work with the Hashtag 25A, as well as a number of presses from that Access showed up with, and we filmed it all. It was filmed by the Curator Co. This video is edited by the Curator Co. And we're super proud to show it to you right now. It's hard enough to edit videos. We edited it while we were in another city shooting this event, going to all the other events, and we're super proud of it, and I'm incredibly proud to show it to you. So we're gonna dim the lights, and then we're going to turn it on right here. You're gonna watch it. It's gonna be about 6 minutes, and then we're gonna talk about our experiences in the lab. We're gonna focus on the speakers that were at the lab day for the first part of the conversation, and then after that, we're gonna open it up. This is the last chance you're gonna have with a lot of these guys. Again, like I said before, tomorrow is marketing and then awards, and then we're doing an after party, which you're all, of course, invited to. So there's not gonna be a chance for you to ask questions. So you wanna ask Steensland about pheno hunting, you wanna ask Duchess about washing, you wanna ask Lindsay about process flow, whatever you want. We're here for a couple hours. I'm really stoked to be here with you. This has been a great event so far. Thank you so much for being here. Let's check out this video. Melting of the Heads prides itself on being more than a solventless summit, whereby it spends the time, energy, and capital to bring a number of the makers speaking at the event together in one geographic location prior to the event to work on the equipment provided to us by our sponsors. This year we're working with Hashtag as well as Press Club and a number of other sponsors. We're incredibly excited about the format of this event. A lot of time, energy, effort, and thought has gone into it. And we feel as though getting the makers and subject matter experts together prior to the event itself, having them experience the equipment, work on it with identical material, and be able to come to conclusions and make assessments generates a tremendous amount of value. And we then short edit a film that's played at the event itself. And we want to thank all the makers and everybody who supported the event for bringing this together. This was no small feat, and we want to give a shout out to everybody putting on cannabis events in the community. We think it's very important to grow our community through these events and through showing people these events on video like we're doing here. Big shouts out to the people making those efforts. For a long time, our industry was not something that you were able to showcase, and I believe that now more than ever, it's incredibly important to showcase in order to keep our culture alive. And that is what Melting of the Heads was born from, was a way that the community can get together and discuss high-level conversations and topics, and ultimately network and further the community and the connections that are made within it. So we're tremendously excited to have everybody here. We want to give a huge shout out to all the event goers, all the speakers, all the judges, and everybody that helped make this happen. We're tremendously excited, and we hope you enjoy.
How's it going? We're here today with the hashtag 25A, the Legends bundle. We're going to be washing some Dream Factory Fresh Frozen, grown in the great sunshine of the state of Maine. We'll be using the Press Club full mesh 20-gallon collection bags, as well as their 25U rosin pressing bags. We've got 2 different groups of hash makers coming in, so they'll be doing two washes today. They'll be doing 3,000 grams a piece, and we're hoping to see some different styles come out in their different production methods. We'll also be having Access Rosin in the house today. We will be checking out 3 different versions of their rosin press that are at different price points and for different levels of production.
I am based out of Brooklyn, New York. Well, as my clients span from being in the bush or being in labs, there are a variety of problems they may have. At the end of the day, everybody needs it to be as clean as possible because this is medicine. So finding ways to fit hash into their particular conditions that is going to be able to be scalable, that's really a big deal. And also taking the new innovations and fitting them into their particular model. One of the biggest mistakes is people really don't recognize how important temperature is and how important speed is. So sometimes people take a little bit of a lackadaisical approach with how they move through their processes and end up leaving resin in water way too long, or have beautiful resin ruins because being in some place that's just like 10 degrees too hot. So at the end of the day, I feel it's really important for people to understand that resin needs to be cold for resin to be preserved. If you can keep that in mind, then that will really inform your decision.
Hi, I'm Mikey, also known as MTS, and I'm based in the tri-state area. My current lab setup is a pretty tight room. I use a combination of hand washing and a brootless, as well as my own system called the Baby Bird. The biggest challenges that I've seen have been, as a generality, workflow as well as temperature. Temperature tends to be a big issue as well. You know, getting the water cold in all the areas, keeping everything cold. I'm much more concerned with being able to be gentle on the material while keeping a good flow with the water. So I've seen that done really well with bottom agitation. I'm looking to find that done really well with top agitation. Not seeing that.
All right, I want to move to Spencer. I know you've had a very limited amount of interaction with the hashtag, borrowing it from our good friend over at Mothership, Mr. Louisiana Cannabis Co. But yeah, what were your thoughts with the unit initially?
Yeah, I got to mess around and use it for a couple batches, and basically the same setup that Adam has. So the 50A with the kind of homemade drain and recycle setup. So I really liked it. I did a wash open or naked, And then I did some in the work bags as well, and I actually like the work bags better in that vessel with the top-down agitation. And then in our lab, we're running an Osprey most of the time. And what I've found with the bottom is I like it open better. And it might be because it's a square vessel versus a circle vessel too, and it just moves the water differently. But I've found kind of I like different ones in both of the machines. So
Very cool. Adam, you've probably had the most or some of the most experience with the machine since you got it. You've completely transitioned your SOPs over. How's that learning curve been? What have been some of the struggles and solutions? And talk a little bit about that.
So there was definitely a learning curve, but it was mostly on just trying to, I'd been hand washing for almost 5 years, so just like completely resetting up my room for a different process was a little hard, just for where you're putting things and like where you're moving. Eventually when you start washing, it's just like you're doing the same thing every time, and then when you're doing a new thing, you're trying to figure out the new flow. So it was really just like trying to fine tune some adjustments. Spence was talking about how we're rocking sort of we call it the ghetto nest, because we're instead of a stainless steel catch barrel, we just have a 80-gallon tote, I believe, and a 20-gallon brute container with the holes cut in the bottom. So it works in the same way where it floods out, but it saves us like a little bit of money. At home, I honestly don't do the constant recirculating method. So it was kind of nice to be able to try that when we came down here. And I did like it. I liked it more than I thought I was going to like it, honestly. My only problem was that when we were using the unit, we were trying to like regulate the flow, if that makes sense. So the water's going all the way through, and it was like the valve is like a click one way and one click the other way. And if we went to the right, it would fill up a little faster than it would drain. So we'd like sort of get to a point, and then we'd have to open it one more direction to let it drain. So I'm sure there's some sort of like more like finer tuning valve where you can really like get right in there. Because for me, I want to be able to set my machine up, get it rolling, and then be able to walk away and do other things like, line my trays or handle things in the freeze dryer or just like any other things we have going on. So if I could get it to where I know it's not going to overflow on me, I definitely would start using that in our daily use. I started with the cube bags, and I do like them for what Kaya was saying. It's definitely, especially if you're by yourself, like it's the easiest and the cleanest way to get runs done. I found that on my larger washes where I was trying to use multiple cube bags in the 50, I would have to wash it for a longer time to make sure I got everything out. So right now we're mostly doing the open style with the can liner though. So we got a 50-gallon or 55-gallon bag with the bag spreader, and we're doing open washes anywhere between 4,000 and 8,000 grams comfortably. I think the bag spreader is working great. I think the problem is that the bag that I bought isn't really like form fitted for the vessel. So once it gets like a more proper, this is fitted for this vessel, I think it's gonna be like 100%, but it's so much better than the one completely bagless wash that I did. Personally was a mess, and the amount of time it took for me to clean it up after was enough for me to never try that again. But yeah, I like that. I like the open bag setup with the spreader for what we're going for.
What are your thoughts on the tipping action, like the T series after purchasing an A series?
So I love the T series. My washroom would have to have a wall taken down to get one in, so that was sort of a limiting factor for me personally. It was also a financial thing. It was just out of my budget, the T. I do like the T. I mean, if I had the T and I could just tip that little barrel over into a tote on wheels and scurry it out of my room, it'd be lovely. But yeah, for the size and price point, I had to go with the 50A at the time.
Mikey, what were your thoughts on the suitability of the 25A for new and emerging markets out east here?
I think the 25A is pretty good. Price point, it might be a little tough for some of the really small craft guys, but I really liked when I got to play on it this time, the recirculating part was actually working. Last time we didn't have it set up correctly the first time we were running it, so it was kind of pulling vacuum on the bags. I've played around with that in my own setups, trying to do recirculation. That is one thing that I think would take a heck of a lot of R&D to be able to figure out, is to match specifically the incoming water speed and the outgoing water speed. That I think you kind of have to watch it. I don't know that there's a way around that other than increasing the price point really, really high, but maybe somebody will figure that out. I do really like it recirculating because I don't feel like if you just pour all of your water out one time and collect those bags, you're getting all the heads that were in that wash. So being able to take it through just a couple times. So say you have it running, you're not recirculating, you're pulling your bags, and then when you go through for the last couple minutes, you just recirculate it, then you get all the hash out. And it's just, you're doing it kind of like a regular run, but making sure you get each out every time. This time also we ran it the singular direction, and I was able to see an increase in quality. Last time we ran it, I didn't quite see the quality that I would like to be able to recommend it to people. This time I did see a much better quality, so that was great to see. It was much better material. So I would like to see maybe something a little bit more economical for really small craft people, but as far as workflow and how the system works, I think it's very viable.
I just want to say, and because we were talking with my man Shaggy, who is a small batch producer right now, and he's hand washing in I think it's a 30-gallon Bruteless, the stainless 20-gallon Bruteless. So it's cool for him to be able to see that bridge, because that bridge, I'm pretty sure, can be outfitted to also use the same adapter, and then that knocks the price down considerably. If you already have a vessel, you can just get the agitator standing alone. And the other thing too is that the 50A and the 25A are the same unit. There's just like an extra bracket that you pop onto the back to keep the barrel centered. So it's all the same. You can interchange them if you wanted to. So there's definitely options.
Kai, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I think the benefit of the recirculating, because I played with that too. I'm scared to walk away from it and flood the fucking room. One of them's going on. But I think the benefit of that is, right, we talk about keeping it cold, but keeping it consistent. And think about this, right? You fill your vessel, you agitate, you drain all that water out. Then you got to pour the water back in, right? What's happening in that time period where there's no water in there? And is that water that comes back, if it's fresh, is it pre-cold? If it comes back out of the circulation, is it the same temp? So, but being able to do that and just always have that material in the water, so you're getting it out, it's coming through, you're collecting, and then you can turn the cycle back on without ever having that kind of odd time. And back in the day, it was like, okay, hurry, quick, pull the stuff before you could even switch it, right? So it's sitting there even longer, We used to even pull the bags out, drain it all. We'd pull the bags out and throw them in the freezer and then do the stuff and then put it back in and re-add it. So if you never had to do that, you would know that this recycling thing allows you to not have to do that. So I think that's kind of the biggest benefit of that part. So.
Yeah, and also the base where you have the reducer, I really like that you can add ice into there. So if your water's recirculating, it's going to be recirculating through there. You can add extra ice, so you're putting less ice in up top, and that gives you more room for material, which is really cool. The one thing that I would add to that is there's plenty of us who have made a ghetto nest because we didn't feel like spending 11 racks. So if you have ghetto nest, you probably realize that you have a big open area where you can add a bunch of ice, and that gives you access to be able to throw your bags in there where it's cold. Maybe if it had a little bit more access to be able to stick bags into there, because that's something that we utilized while we were washing, that would be cool.
I think I want to stay on the wash and kind of pass it over to Duchess a little bit, because I know Adam was at the first melting of the heads, and we had Hashtag's 65T there, and he was able to spend a lot of time with it, and it resulted with him actually purchasing a unit from Hashtag. So I know that speaks to, if that speaks to quality to you, you can think on that. But Duchess, as somebody who just has seen the unit for the first time, what was your initial impressions of the unit?
So I'll have to be honest. I'm a person that likes to feel as I'm moving the resin around. So I did come in prejudiced in a way. To see the display and such like that, the idea of automation is a little bit. But after washing with Adam, we had a really good time, learned a lot, and it was so easy. That's the thing, the interface was so easy. It's like you wanted to add some time, it was just this button. You wanted to slow it down, it was just this button. And seeing the recirculation action and everything, I have to say that my bias was really put to the side, and I really enjoyed it. So between being with Adam and being with Mikey, it was a pretty awesome experience. And I can see that for clients in the future, it's something that I would definitely recommend, because you're gonna have those clients that are finally making that step up from dealing with the 20-gallon plastic, but maybe don't wanna pay $70,000. So wanna have something that's gonna be very usable. It's gonna give you resin that's gonna look beautiful. I heard the resin looks amazing, and it's not gonna break the bank. So I can always recommend that.
That's very cool. I think that, watching Mikey and Adam interact with the 65 T for the first time and seeing that how slow the agitation can actually go. And that was like, for them, a moment of comfort where it's like, okay, now we can proceed forward. We've proven that we can go too slow. So let's see, how slight we can change these increments. And then once that was sort of discovered, the variability was really nice. And knowing that you can take it down to a place that would be non-functional is actually comforting, I think, to see from a hash maker's perspective. So, Mikey, can you talk a little bit about your impression of the unit? You've seen the 65T, now you've worked on the 25A. What are your thoughts?
I think for a home lab, especially one where you're limited on ceiling height and you can't use one of the A-frame styles, I mean, it works. I like the workflow of it still. I don't completely like the agitation of it. I think it is probably good for really packing it full though, because you do go slower. So yeah, I think it has drawbacks and things that I like about it.
Awesome. So for the after the washes were done, and by the way, everybody's going to ask, Adam, can you tell us what we were washing?
We washed fresh frozen Dream Factory that one of our good friends grew.
Beautiful. And so from there, we were able to do some pressing on the access machines. So we utilized, I think, all three different machines. Mikey, are you able to talk to us a little bit about what your first impressions were going through those machines for the first time?
So initially I was a little bit worried because you see these pieces of parchment and they look like a crazy paper airplane you tried to make when you were younger, right? And then there's these bags and they didn't look super long. I was worried that I may get a little bit of heads coming out. Everything pressed out really nice, and I was actually really impressed. So the bags are pre-folded for you, and you kind of, it's intuitive where to put them. It's I would like to do some side-by-sides of pulling stuff off of parchment as well as the pour style that this creates. But so far, I really liked it. Everything pressed out really smoothly. It didn't seem like there would be slippage from the bags, even if you were going a little bit heavier. So I think I like the concept. I like where they're going with it. And I think they're doing some good work.
I want to get Spencer up here to talk a little bit about his journey and oh, there he is. To talk a little bit about his journey and where he's gone and where he is now with his machines. I think he's got a very cool story. And then I'm going to pass it over to Alex. But here's Spencer give it up for Spencer from Access, man. This is
Hello. Yeah, it's been a journey. We really, Access Rosin really started focusing on how do we reach more of the industry with solventless extracts and how to shift that market share and really depend on the equipment to allow them to get there. And so we really did focus on scaling craft quality rosin. and making sure that it doesn't bottleneck at that rosin press process. So we really focused on that key point, and in light of the end, we discovered that flow control technology utilizes these tight gutters that really pushes the rosin out at a controlled rate or speed, utilizing the pressure. And so we found that making a personal or entry-level rosin press that utilizes one of the 4 pouches allows the processor to grow into equipment that is accountable. So that's really where we based it on and why we created the entry-level or personal series is what we call it, of our flow control technology.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much. Give it up for Spencer, man. I wanna ask MTS because we actually pressed some of the loose resin that he's very familiar with. What were your observations about the resin coming off the plates with the access versus what you use at home, and what do you use at home?
So I use both the low temp V2 and the pure pressure Pikes Peak at home. I'm generally on that V2 because I really like the hand pump. We utilized the hand pump when I was pressing on theirs as well, so it was a good comparison of the 2 presses. I like to have stuff. When I press, I keep my oil completely between the parchment. I don't let it come out into the air at all. So I was a little bit concerned actually about dripping out the front and going down to a jar. But what I see curing up in that jar looks very good to me. So that's why I'm saying I would really like to see some side-by-sides. And I think maybe their concept has something to it. So yeah, it's good.
Very cool. All right, so before we go forward, I want to go back and I want to pass it over to Alex. Alex, you have designed these systems from scratch up in Canada. You've done some really cool stuff, starting with a larger unit and now working your way down to a smaller unit. Can you talk a little bit about the concept behind the 25A?
Yeah. Thanks, Jameson.
Give it up for Alex, man. Double supporter of Moth. Moth needed a piece of equipment. The concept of Moth needed a piece of equipment, or it would not have kind of gone. And so, huge shout out to Alex.
When Jameson first reached out to me about Moth 1, he pitched it to me, and I had to go to my business partner and be like, well, I met these really cool dudes like Jameson, like he hits huge dabs, and like we got to send them a $60,000 piece of equipment down to Washington so they can do experiments with it. And it was a pretty tough sell, but I'm super glad that we sent that unit down for the first show, because it got us involved with guys like Kaya, who ended up buying that demo unit, Mission Hill Melt, Colin's looking at getting a unit from us now, and working with guys like this, it's really allowed us to step up and make our equipment better by working with hash makers and listening to them. So I just want to thank everyone who's here, and especially the makers who we really learned so much from.
So Alex, before we pass it back, I want to know the concept that the top down versus bottom up agitation on your units. Is that something that was a conscious decision, or a preference, or what were your thoughts there?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we talk about a lot is continuous recirculation during agitation. The idea being that you have a flow of water that's constantly moving trichomes that are decapitated in the agitation vessel down through the filtration vessels while the agitation's going on. Now, if you have a bottom-faced impeller, like some of the other machines that were mentioned this weekend, an Osprey or an Icon, it becomes very difficult to do that kind of continuous recirc, because you don't want to be pulling water through the bottom if you have a impeller spinning at high RPM down there, shearing trichome heads. So I don't know if I want to get too technical, but if anyone wants to talk about the technology behind our systems, we have a demo unit set up back there, and I'm happy. I love it. It's my passion. So I'm happy.
Give it up for Alex,
I'm
guys.
happy to talk more about hash anytime anyone wants.
Thanks, Alex. All right, so I'm gonna open it up to questions specifically about the video that you saw and the equipment that was used in the video. And then after that, we're gonna open it up wide. But let's start with those questions. Does anybody have any questions about the hashtag or about the access, about anybody's experience there? Interesting. Oh, we got Whale in the back. My man Whale. Yes. We got all right. We got.
You guys work with using bags with the material in those bags as opposed to running bags outside. We're talking about the bags
I think we want to direct this towards Mission Hill. I know he's spent a lot of time with the unit.
One of those guys have both had experiences having that.
Yeah, Kaya, you go, Kaya.
Kaya's really tested the pillow bags, key bags.
Test. So when I went up to the Moth one, I actually got in late, and everybody had already used the machine, and they left me this dirty machine in a dirty washroom, and I scolded them. I did. I scolded them, but it gave me the opportunity to kind of start at the finish, right? And a big part of washing your hash is clean up afterwards, and you know, one of the big benefits of this machine is one person can operate it, one person can clean it up and do it really quickly and very easily. So that was kind of neat. I cleaned the machine up, cleaned the room up really quickly by myself, and then Brandon from Mothership and I washed some loads. Now, a lot of people wash naked. They don't use any kind of wash bags. I like washing. I know it's cold in there. How you guys do that? I was always a fan, and I make a lot of high-end 6-star. So I was always a fan of encapsulating the material in the pre-wash bags, and then moving them around that way. I felt like it gives it an extra layer of protection. And in my trials, I was able to actually get an extra spin or two, so my yields were slightly higher if I used a work bag, like the ice cube bag style stuff. So the first time I used the 65T, we washed that way. And we had to make some adjustments with the height of the paddle, which was easy enough to do, and it worked great. So I've done it that way, and then since using it that way, we've kind of adjusted, and now I wash without those bags. And we're able to do pretty large amounts, 12,000 grams of fresh frozen, maybe 6 to 8 of dry material. We do wash dry material. I know some people laugh, but whatever. I like the hash. It's good. But the whole machine worked really well both ways. And we've kind of actually adapted washing without the bags now. And I've seen you guys putting in the big ones to line the whole deal. I haven't tried that yet. I'm going to get a set of bags probably from Rosin Evolution and line those.
Or Press Club.
Or them, yes. Sorry. But, I would like to try that too because I haven't tried that yet. But it's really easy to clean without those bags. The worst part of the whole process using those bags is cleaning the buggers. Like if you've ever used that, like it's a pain in the ass to go through them and clean them, and you got to clean them thoroughly. That's a huge part of making hashing, keeping your material rolling. So not having that extra chore to do is really nice at the end. So.
Awesome. I want to ask Duchess really quickly what her thoughts were of the Access Rosin Press when she first saw it, because I know she came down kind of and was shown all this equipment without a lot of explanation. So I know she came into this cold. So what were your initial observations on the presses?
So I knew of Access Rosin, and although I have made rosin since 2015, that's not my focus. I focus more on hashish. But when I was watching it, I too was a little bit confused about the pre-shaped bags and whatever, and being able to see how thorough was the press. Everyone's happy that was the 90% club, and that was really nice, and the way it was explained. And again, we often are in a bubble, and we have a bit of gatekeeping about like, oh, we're hash makers and we know what we're doing, and other people don't know. I think that being able to bring new people who can love hash into a situation, and that's going to include new operators, it needs to be pretty much plug and play and really easy to understand. And I felt like Spencer did a great job really explaining the different varieties and the different versions and for whom it would be ideal. So for the experienced person who's been using, long speak, whatever, that automation is easy and stuff like that. But I felt like your Access rosin machine was effective and very approachable. And I think that's important for the market.
Awesome, guys. Give it up for Duchess. We're going to open this up now. So you got all the makers here. Let's introduce Colin Palmer. Colin's a late addition. Give it up for Colin Palmer. Colin couldn't make it Friday, but he's here now, so we're super stoked to have him. Thanks, Colin.
Yeah, thanks for having me, everyone. Peace.
So we're going to open it up. Whatever you guys want to talk about. You want to talk about equipment. You want to talk about process flow. You want to talk about cultivation. Let's go.
MTS Farms. Earlier you spoke about how you don't like your rosin dripping and you keep it inside the parchment, I guess, so no air gets in it, I'm assuming, so no oxidization happens. Can you explain more about that, please?
Yeah, so I've tried many different methods of pressing, and that was just something when I was working with, I had someone that was teaching me. They worked in a lab out in California that was a well-known one for a couple years, and they came and stayed with me for a while in Pennsylvania, and we started doing that where we just didn't allow the rosin to get out into the air and just keeping it between the parchment. And when I hear other companies explain why they do that, it made sense to me. And I would like to have as little off-gassing as I can, keep as many of those terpenes. But like I said, I did see some rather cool results of what's happening in that jar. And you're welcome to come up to me and check out what I pressed. It's really nice rosin. So,
Next question. We got them all up here right now. High Tide. What's up?
Bring it back to the resin per square foot conversation. You guys are all here. Resin per square foot versus yields, like as a just straight up number. I feel like it's an easier way of dialing in the actual topic of what we're trying to get out of the subject.
Resin per square foot versus yields. Who wants to take it? Colin's on it.
I got you. Well, that's a really interesting ideology that can only really be proven out in the lab. You can grow one single cultivar many different times and get many different percentage points based on many different things you did during the life cycle of that plant. So I think it's a nice ideology to say, hey, we got our room on lock with resin per square inch. But until it hits the lab from that particular run, from that particular feeding schedule, and the timing of that feeding schedule, and how much water you fed it, et cetera, the BPFD, the VPD, all of these things are like harmonics. They have to come together at the perfect point, and that's really difficult to recreate. Brands are consistent. Artists are not. We love to try to be consistent as brands, but we're still artists. We don't have replicatable systems yet. So we have to embrace the artistry. So I would just say, work with your cultivar and learn about it.
Especially since every single grower is going to grow things differently. What could be advertised as like, oh my gosh, I got the biggest dump from such and such, but one person's growing in cocoa, one person's growing in soil. You're going to have totally different, you're going to have to look at your seeds and be like, if it's growing for this amount with the right PPFD, with this, and you wash it this particular way, whether it's open or closed or blah, 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 that's going to be problematic. There's just too many variables at that. At the end of the day, it's finding the right cultivar that works for where you're growing it, because everything doesn't grow just because it's hot in California doesn't mean it's going to be hot here, or you're even going to know how to handle it, and vice versa. It really comes down to finding that, doing enough trial and errors. When you find people who've been washing the same strain for the last 3 years, they're going to do way better than the person who has the hottest dumper, but this is the very first time they're washing it. It's just not going to be like comparable. So I think it really is up to understanding that particular cultivar and the steps that you go through. Just like Kaya mentioned, People scoff at dry material, this idea, and Rackham's makes dead rosin, whatever. This idea that like dry material can't make phenomenal stuff. I'm sorry that y'all think that. That doesn't make any sense. But everybody is gonna bring up, make their own particular specialty per cultivar.
Anyone else want to jump in? Next question. Anyone else? We got them all. We got them all up here now.
So, if I'm a grower, if I'm single source, I'm gonna think resin per square foot. If I'm a hash maker, I'm gonna think percentage, because I'm just buying your material and washing it.
I mean, I think it has a lot to do with what you're going for. I mean, if you're an edible company growing for solventless, I think that your calculations are going to be a lot different as far as what you're talking about as usable resin versus, if you're an ultra premium company that, isn't really paying attention to the off bags. So I think that ultimately it's really going to go towards securing a brand and like communicating to the consuming public who you are. So I'm super stoked for a marketing panel tomorrow. I think that's going to be pretty fire with Sour Waves, BK the God, Addison. We got Mission Hill Melts on it. That's going to be a lot of fun. So, I'm going to ask questions because we got these guys up here. So I want to know from Kaya, like, where do you see the North American industry going? Like, you're in Washington, you're standing tall in a market where a lot of people are falling down. What is your foresight or advice that you have to these individuals in the room that are looking to build their brands and follow in your footsteps?
Yeah, I think sometimes in this environment you get pressured and you feel like, I got to make a move now. I got to do this thing now. It's legalization's here. I got to hit the ground running. I got to be the first in, and don't interrupt your process. Understand it's a walk. It's not like I'm here. I got it in. I'm staking my claim, and I'm going to be good. It's a walk. And a lot of times, initially, when they lay out those ground rules, they're going to change, and that can, if you got a lot invested in a particular model, and then they changed certain legalities or whatever, it can fuck you. You can be done overnight. So step carefully, move slow. If you're doing any kind of contractual stuff, have your lawyers look at it, go through it with a fine-tooth comb. There's all kinds of traps that you can get caught in. But trust your process. When I got in, I didn't rush in. I actually was fighting against legalization in Washington because it was a horseshit bill. It really wasn't right for the people, and they wanted to push out medical. So I fought it, and I didn't jump in, and I wouldn't play with them for the longest. And then finally they changed things, and I got in. And at the time that I got in, there was four people making solventless. Everybody was doing BHO. This was like 2017, and two of those solventless companies went out of business, and we hit the market and started putting out something that was actually quality. It used to be like a joke. The 502 stores were just a joke, and we started putting out something that was respectable, and we started we had the advantage of this distribution thing that was set up. So you start putting out good material, and we're making really good money, and then other companies are looking, and they can't sell their BHO for a fucking $1 a gram or 50 cents a gram, and they're going, how's this guy getting $30 a gram? What's he doing? So now, fast forward to 4 years later, you can't count all the people doing salt. I mean, everybody sees this, right? It's not just Washington, it's everywhere. But when I came in, that wasn't happening. I was the fish swimming against the current. But I just trusted that there was people out there that wanted that, and I knew what I wanted, and I couldn't go into a store and get anything I wanted. It wasn't there. So I put it there. Other people follow along, and I've created my own little niche. And it took me a couple years. The first year we didn't do very well. We survived. The second year we kind of broke even. Third year we had some money to reinvest, and we're just running with it. I'm still like up to here in it. But you got to trust the process and trust that there's people that want high grade, and they want something that's made with intention and is farmed right and isn't just, who's fucking sick of mids? Who's seeing all the, like, we're tired of it. It's everywhere. I'm tired of smelling it, right? But this whole thing, what makes us crave weed, what makes us pheno hunt, right? It's fucking dank. The whole industry is ran off dank. And people that don't smoke it, people that count numbers, they're never gonna fucking get that. That's our kryptonite to whatever the fuck they're pushing. Okay? So trust that people it's gonna sell itself. I didn't make a single sales call the first 2 years I was in business out here. I didn't have to. They called me. So you put something out that's good, that you want to consume, and trust that those folks, and it's just a reciprocal thing. They'll bring you the money, you keep growing out your infrastructure, they'll make more space for you in the market, they'll tell their friends, and you can grow it. You can fight against all the other big forces that you feel are like squishing you and you can't compete. You can be the David to their Goliath just by following your heart, following your instinct, right? Knowing what's good. You know what I mean? We know what's good, we know what's not, and just stay on that path, stay true to it, and you'll be all right.
Larry, I want to ask you, you've been in the industry for a long time. What advice do you have for guys right now? Like, you've seen a lot, you're in the legal space. What are your thoughts?
Hello. Hello. Well, watch out for yourself. A lot of people are going to offer you things, and a lot of times when you have talent in this industry and someone with affluence outside of it and investments and licensing and a lot of things stacked with them to attract you, want to take advantage of you, and what they're telling you is basically a sales pitch that they often don't have a lot of intention on following through on a lot of it. So like Kai was saying, get a lawyer, go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. I have been through a lot of ups and downs with companies. I've worked for a lot of big companies, some with licenses in multiple states, and moved all around the country doing things. And I've learned a lot over the years, and I continue to get better at it because probably like many of you, I come from no business background and lots of handshake deals and things like that where many people have taken care of me in my life, but once you cross over into the legal space, it becomes, when you meet someone, the setting can seem like we want to do the best for each other, but it's really I 100% only want to do the best for myself, and I'm not worried about your best interest typically during it, and something you have to watch out for because and make other people a lot of money. It can create disdain, and you don't want that. You don't want any negative. You want you don't want to harbor anything negative like that. So, just do everything with your best intention and watch out for yourself. And if something stinks like shit, it's probably shit. So,
also protect your shit, like your name, your images, your logos. Like, go through the process. Yeah, go to trademark your stuff. It's a little bit of money and about a year of waiting because they're slow as hell. It's the government, but protect your stuff. It's valuable, and those people that Larry's talking about that are going to give you a nice shiny sales pitch, they're grubby fucks, and they're going to try to grab that shit the minute you get comfortable. So always protect yourself. Get everything in writing. Don't do anything that's out of your contract or responsibilities. Look out for yourselves.
Colin, you want to add some?
Yeah, I mean, I've created whole brands with whole departments and given them everything and been left with absolutely nothing. And it's not that hard to rebuild at all, and never think that these people have anything you don't have. And like Adam said, protect yourself, because they actually have nothing. And it's really funny that they think they have something, because it's really laughable. You guys have spent your life and your time and your effort and your creativity and all of your own sweat and blood, something that they can never take from you. So just know that you have more worth than they'll give you credit for at all times. At all times. So just push forward. There's going to be a lot, like Kaya said, that you're going to go up against, and then you don't even know what yet, especially in a new market like New York. It's the center of the universe, as we used to call it. There's a lot of capitalism, a lot of things happening, but there's a lot of positivity that can come from this. Just got to navigate well, and just speak up for yourself, because no one else will.
Colin, as somebody who has a lot of experience working in the California landscape over the last number of years, and also a New York native, what are your thoughts on how things are going to unfold differently here than they did over the life cycle they did in California?
Yeah, so, I'm a part of the New York State Pharma Association. I'm a board member there. I look at all the rules and regs. I study these rules and regs because they help me understand what's actually possible in the actual regulated sense. And I'm just going to heed warning to everybody that's excited about New York is you're going to go through a lot, and it's not all that different. It's not set up all that different than California, if I'm really honest about it right now. The rules and regs don't really support what we all think they do, and I hope that the small farmers are actually able to get a breath of fire ahead of all the MSOs and the big money that's trying to come into this market. But you should all band together and find your people right now. Right now, it's like find the best guys in the room and all join forces, because that's what it's going to take, because these guys are strategic, but so are you, and you have experience. So I think California, took a long time to get there, and New York will too. Don't have FOMO right now at all. Do not. These licenses right now are just from people that have been growing hemp, putting the time in for the plant. So we should respect that, and we should actually encourage them, because it's extremely hard to grow at scale, especially as a farmer outdoor in upstate New York. Once hurricane season comes, from really beginning of October or sometimes in June, it's blow the wind. You have systems that come through with 90% humidity, 21 inches of rain. I have a farm that I work with in upstate New York in Hudson, and I've seen some really fascinating things over the years. So I think that California is a good heed of warning for us to look at, and for us to kind of, please get your comments into the rules and regs. Only you can change them, and if you don't get them in now, we have nothing to point back to say, hey, remember when we gave you these comments? I know it seems like a lost cause, but it's not. I'm doing it myself because I care. I really care about this community, and I care that it should be done the right way, and my ideas may not be brought to life, but at least we can point back when things fail the way they are currently. So, yeah, a long-winded way. It's like we have a long way to go here, and we should support one another. The next 5 years is gonna be a rocky road.
Absolutely, it's going to be about community and staying tight for sure. Lindsay, you have worked in regulatory structures in the Caribbean, in Canada, and in the U.S. on a bigger scale than most know. You've done a lot in this space and familiarized yourself with a lot of regulatory regimes over the last few decades. Can I get your opinion on where this is all going?
Yeah, I'll tell you about the Caribbean for a bit, because it was pretty fun. And we were about the 7th team on the island in St. Vincent. I was like the sole representative on the ground, working with the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadine. And they built a MCA, Medical Cannabis Association, out of people that were in the business community and leaders in the business community, and some doctors. And I got my license before the 7 other companies that were there for years before me, because I worked with them. And I worked with them by showing them what federally Canada had done, but I also really took some of the stuff that in Canada is bullshit going on, and said, you can't do this because this will ruin the plant for this reason. And they like really took that into hand, and I helped them build some of the regulation. And that's why I got the license first, because like, you know, you come in there and you just talk about the bullshit and how you don't want that to happen in their country, because I mean, these guys really had high hopes that this plant would change the entire economics of their country. And unfortunately it hasn't yet, but I think that hope is still there, because St. Vincent supplied the Eastern Caribbean with cannabis for years because they had such a beautiful soil to grow in, and so many passionate growers. So they were like Trinidad and Barbados and stuff supplying them for years. So to go in and work with some of the guys that had been in the mountains for years was incredible. And that was something that St. Vincent did when they regulated, is they really said you have to work with the Rasta, and you have to like bring them into your team and stuff. So that was really incredible. Unfortunately, you know, the people I went down there for didn't have a sense of community, and you know, being the only guy on the ground, it was like I was in some scary situations. But I think you know, at the end of the day, there was 2 Rasta groups that we worked with, and I think it was, you know, they learned so much from just the things we have to do in order to make it a marketable product. You know, just cleanliness and things like that. So we taught each other a lot. Yeah.
And so, you know, with the experience that you gained there, the experience of working in Canada, you know, first talk about your experience in Canada. I mean, you operated in the market well before legalization. What was your overall view of how things unfolded federally there?
I did most of my like work in cannabis early, like in BC area. So like I'll tell you, I didn't. I worked with like people in the community. You know, I'd sell them rosin presses and teach them how to use it and like how to change their income stream. I didn't know what cookies was, you know? I knew the GSC, but I didn't know like the whole culture of the coolness of cookies or whatever. So I was ingrained a little differently. I was with the people like on the, you know, there's Shrimp crews running around in Nelson and stuff, and just like having opportunity to work in these little communities, selling rosin presses and teach them how to make rosin. So that was, I forget your initial question.
Just how did you see it unfolding in Canada? Like, did you think it went well, or did you see, you know, my observation was it was promised as a small business opportunity to a mom and pop, and it was really a wolf in sheep's clothing.
So the community never had a chance to get in, really. They made the regulations so tough to write. You had to, you know, hire a really good quality assurance person in order to write, you know, the hundreds of SOPs and flow diagrams and everything you needed to get in there. So that was an upfront cost. You know, that's going to cost you $50,000 to $100,000 to hire somebody to build that entire package for you, to make Health Canada happy. Yeah, so if you're in the community and, you know, you didn't have a lot of money to bring with you, sorry, but like, you know, Canopy over here is growing a 2 million square foot piece of shit grow house. And, you know, we don't have time to help you. So originally it was like all these assholes in Canada that thought, you know, I'm going to grow 1 million square foot at a time, and they're all popping up all over the country. These are the guys that took over the industry in Canada. We're slowly starting to see like people like you come around that are, you know, more into the craft, and you're going to be recognized for that. But it's been a long.
Yeah, it was 3-4 years before we really started to see any type of representable legacy presence in the Canadian space.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, totally unacceptable. And you know, if you peel back the layers, that's not really those people that we know it to be. It's you know, and they've got their own thing, and they're, you know, it's a sad state of affairs, but it's part of the evolution that takes place, you know, for every market. So I think, you know, bracing for those growing pains, learning from other markets, talking to people who've gone through things that are going to be a little bit different than you go through, but still a way for you to learn and better position yourself for the coming storms, I think is super valuable. So I can keep going all night, but do you guys have any questions or for any specific groups in the audience? There we go, my man Joseph here.
What are you guys most excited for the year? Popping in new cultivars. What are you guys each excited for? Hash wise, of course.
Hash wise, Mikey, I know you're working on some stuff. Oh, hash, not rosin.
Yep. So right now I have Peanut Butter Breath by T going. I also have one of Jolly Blue Raz. So that's, some people are telling me that they think it's Poochie's papaya. I don't know if you smelled we call it the sharp boozy cut. If you smelled my papaya, I have that hit with Pop's Deuce. So you probably also smelled the Pops if you smelled the papaya. Together, they're going to create some really interesting flavors. A homie over here is running it. He said that he found one that smells like blueberry candy, which there was like some notes of blueberry within that Pops. That's something I'm looking for out of it. We're also looking for like a blue raspberry flavor type stuff, which they've been finding. So I'm excited for a whole bunch of grape terps this year. I'm also popping What the Grape, which is TTRS to Pop's Deuce. So, yeah.
What about you, Kyle? What are you working on this year?
Seed-wise, we're going to start breeding a lot of inbred lines, IBLs. So taking, as an example, like our F7 to the BX4 and just running stuff in between some of the line breeding that we've done. Hash-wise, the Kraken Kush is like my new favorite. I had some at the first Moth, and I had like a gram, and I wouldn't share it with anybody. That was mine. And we've got a room. It's probably a week or two out, so that'll be on the Washington Rec Market by next month. It's like a super tardy raspberry with gas on it. It's like my new favorite thing. So I'm super stoked. If you guys get a chance to try that one, jump on it.
That's super cool. Larry, what about yourself? What are you working on this year? I know you're in the rec space.
Yeah, so where I work actually does really large pheno hunts. They just went through like, I think, 25 packs or something like that, and they're lucky to have the canopy space to do it, and they take the risk to do it. As far as the stuff they're pulling right now, I'm pretty excited for the stuff from Schwale, Farmhouse Genetics. We have one headphone jam pheno that I'm really into right now. It's super chemi, really reminds me of Headband. That strain kind of disappeared for a long time, and if it could pop back up, I'd really appreciate it. I'm not like a big fruit guy. Smoke OGs, chems. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Spence, what's up for North Sound Softness?
Yeah, so for me, it's a little different. I'm blessed to be nipping at Kaya's heels over here, and because he's got some really special stuff, and that's what makes his stand out. So for me, it's a lot of using my personal garden, my personal space. I'm spending a lot of time hunting through Taylor's stuff at Little Lake Valley Seed Co. this year. I just got through a first round and found some really nice stuff that I'm excited to run again. So, hopefully we can take those and plug them into some of the farms that we work with in Washington and have some, unique stuff that we can put out on the shelves that helps make us stand out. So, put the time in and find those things that stand out, because it makes a big difference. You can run the same old generic stuff, or put some time in and find something that really stands out and makes you stand out. So. That's what we're working on.
Very cool. Colin, you've been busy this year. You've been featured in Forbes. You've been flying around. You've been working with PAX and a number of different groups. What's going on for 2023?
A lot. We have a big breeding project we've been working on for 3 years, and it's spanning 3 different states, and we're testing multiple environments in those different states and those different markets. And we're working with Skittles times Sour Diesel, Headband times Skittle times Sour Diesel, New York City Garlic, which is a Shiva Skunk times Super Skunk, and we hit that to an Afghan one that Mel Frank. We got seeds from Authentic Genetics, actually, from who runs that? From Todd. Thank you, Todd. Wonderful gentleman. And we've been really hunting through a big diverse gene pool to work with genomic research, and we're also working on hop-laden viroid research. We started unfortunately, bleach is only for your tools. Preach. Oh, right on. And the hop-laden viroid is really, the reason I'm bringing this up is because I want you guys to, if you find yourself seeing weird things happen, go to medicinal genomics, look at viroid.net, please send your samples in. We're collecting data so we can all learn more. And I want to this is about community, this is about learning. I had an incident 3 years ago where we had presented a really bad thing that happened to a grow of ours, but we turned it into a positive, and this is the work thus far that we've done. So it's really, again, viroid.net, medicinal genomics, and yeah, please keep phenohunting. And shout out to Little Valley Lake Seed Company and the work you're doing, dude. I popped
shout out T
the seeds that you gave me, and really found some really dope stuff. So a lot of great breeders. And Kaya, man, if you guys don't know Kaya's work, you better get on it, because everything that we have from Kaya has shown a lot of promise in terms of not only flower, but also, just really great flower to smoke. So that's it.
Right on. Give it up for Colin.
Keep it going.
Absolutely.
2023.
What's going on?
Not too much. I'm slowly converting rackhams from the black market into more of a educational and consulting type of mind frame. And by doing that, started up a new project called Terps and Caicos to keep the jars flowing for the masses. And it's pretty much what I'm focused on mainly right now. This hop situation has been a real question mark in my brain when it comes to what it leads to for the maker. And I don't want to go off on a tangent or anything like that, but I'm curious. We have any research with it transferring over to how the actual resin reacts to that?
Yeah, we do. I can talk about that. So what we found is through thousands of samples of different SNPs that we've got, hop-laden viroid not only stunts growth, and keep this in mind that like a sick person, we all show different symptoms, right? And what we're now understanding about this viroid is that it also mutates. So when that mutation happens, you get a different test of that same viroid that is not replicatable from the last thing that you got it from. So if you touch something and you have a plant over here, let's just call it A over here has the viroid, and you touch it, and then you're going to a new room, and B is over here, and you touch that plant. Over time, that viroid will express different gene traits. So it doesn't replicate, it doesn't point back to that same plant that you got it from. So it's a highly complex thing, and it results in stunted growth, low resin production, low terpene and analyte thiol, going on and on production. And it also is a disruptor in your cloning and your propagation. You find yourself wondering why things are dying. Why are you getting terrible success rates on your cloning? And that's due to the water and the root system. And we have also tested the root system. It's extremely hot in the root system, and different areas of the plant will test differently at different times of its growth cycle.
That's a lot plus more.
Yeah, you just opened up like a whole can of worms.
That's why I asked, because
we got to close
it's a new
this.
hot thing.
We're closing this
That's
door.
why I try to keep broad strokes at talks like this.
Rackhams, what's going on? 2023.
If you want to talk to me later, just take me aside at all times. I'm open.
Are you any phenohunts Rackhams or anything that you're working on?
No. The Skywalker.
Look out for Terps and Caicos. Look out for the
That's
melon ball.
Bald Eagle Farms out of my general area of Northern California. First OG in about 4 or 5 years that I've hit almost 5% on. So that to me is exciting as fuck. I don't know how excited it is for any of you guys, but it's a true clone only Skywalker. I mean, it's a beautiful plant and he still has it. So we're going to run it in our garden hopefully here soon. He's going to be gracious enough to grace us with that cut, and we'll see how that turns out. Right now we have Moonbow, Backcross, and double D's. which is GMO and Tino. So it should be interesting.
Beautiful. Give it up for Rackham's. Duchess, what about yourself? What's 2023 hold?
2023, of course, still holds education and consulting. I like the freedom of travel and such, but I can't be anywhere unless I'm growing my own plants. So I'm doing a bit of an old school, a return to the old school. I am really looking forward to this one plant, melting pot, which is Laotian crossed with Jamaican crossed with Afghani. And I've had some really good preserved, 20-year-old preserved Afghani hash, and it still makes my mind race. I'm like gonna wash 2 different phenos of super lemon haze. I'm excited about that. Skunk crossed with Mazzara, which is called Fat Mazzy, and Maracuya from Swami. I really like those kind of fruity and baby vomit type terps or baby shit kind of terps. That's really good. And then my second set of plants, I'm doing a lot from Trichome Jungle Seeds. They have this orange soul mandarina, which I actually like a lot better than some other citrusy things, and I'm actually doing a mandarina cross with banana split from DNA and some Spanish genetics. Like there was what won Spanibus last year. They pulled a ridiculous on 211 grams. They were able to pull something like 26 grams or something on that, and I like some high yields like that. So I'm looking to grow that. So that's it. Very non-hype type of things, but I'm not like, I'm all about doing the individual stuff. So old school and some Spanish genetics is what I'm doing.
That's very cool. Give it up for Thank Duchess. Mr. Adam Mandel, Mission Hill Melts.
What up, baby?
First of all, excuse me. Can we get a congratulations on the new and recently engaged Adam Mandel and Hannah? This is a serious resonance power couple in the fucking making. Not in the making, they're here, baby. So they're getting married this year. We're tremendously excited to go party with them and celebrate. So huge congrats. One more time for them. Come on, give it up for Hannah. All right, so other than marrying your beautiful bride and some other events that we might mention later, what's going on for 2023?
We are anxiously awaiting some paperwork to go through so that we can walk into our indoor future single source spot up in Portland. We before we came down here, we actually cracked some seeds. We got the Zawa, the sour Skittles crossed to Fajoa from this beautiful man. I got Shishka Berry crossed to Pink Lemonade from another beautiful man down the lane. We got some Damn It Bobby gear we popped, and something else I'm surely forgetting. Yeah, old 3rd gen fam pack. That's the original Skittles crossed to GDP watermelon Skittles. So we're hoping to bring some real Skittles terps up to Maine. We'll see what we can do.
Give it up one more time, Mission Hill. He's having a big fucking year. The solventless Viking, the hardest working man in resin.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've had to pee for an hour.
Bro,
I'm sweaty. And I can't think.
You should have gone earlier, bro.
So that's if I'm excited to take a pee in the next 5 minutes for sure. And
bro, you want me to skip you? You go pee, we'll come back. Let's go. All right. Silly guy. Lindsay, you have done a lot of stuff in your career. You recently left big corporate evil Canna, and you're doing a number. Yeah, let's give it up for Lindsay leaving fucking corporate Canna. Fuck those guys. Woo! Now what are you up to, man? What's 2023 hold?
I got a solventless lab built out in Akwesasne, New York, on the reserve there with some friends, and then stepping away from the resin for a bit. And my partner and I have developed a hemp-based LVL structural beam that we have to start working on sending to universities to get testing for the mechanical properties and stuff. But we hope to be, alleviating some deforestation in the near future, and building structural beams out of hemp.
Fuck yeah, give it up for fucking Lindsay, bro. Caitlin, you've done a lot in the last 3 years. I've watched you. I've bought your jars on the legacy market, and I'm looking forward to buying your jars on the legal market. So, what's 2023 looking like for you?
Thank you. So 2023 for High Fidelity is looking like launching our products on the Canadian rec market. We're going to start with a couple of SKUs launching in BC, and then hopefully over the next few months roll out a couple of SKUs across provinces and roll out, with a bang. Should be really exciting. We're so close, I can almost taste it.
That's so awesome. Well, we'll definitely watch out for you. Give her a shout out, High Fidelity Solventless on Instagram. She makes fire. Last but absolutely not least, and absolutely due for some congratulations with some big moves happening in more than one place. Josh, what's going on for you in 2023?
Thanks, bud. I'll keep it brief, but we're really excited about Beansland Seed Co. Obviously, we're launching that here very shortly in the next couple weeks, and then look forward to some crosses that are going to include the Cherry Kush, the award-winning Cherry Kush that Hanzo Gardens has won Legends with this year for People's Choice. So we're going to be using that to start to develop some crosses. So unlikely we're going to be releasing polys of that, but we are going to be working on stabilizing something. So that's going to be our priority this year. So hopefully in 2024, mid 2024, we'll have some amazing Cherry Kush crosses that have been vetted, and that's kind of where we're at. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, let's go. Hanzo in seed form. All right, T, you ready?
My biggest excitement this year has nothing to do with cannabis. It's my hot sauce company.
Let's go. Trippy Chili.
I'm going to be leasing this 3-acre property in southern Oregon and Illinois Valley outside of Cave Junction. And I got the guy we're just going to grow a lot of chili plants. I'm going to have a 3-acre growing plot to up my production by a lot.
Adam, you got to talk a little bit about this man's hot sauce. I know you come from a house that is quite respectful of the hot sauce.
This man's hot sauce makes me cry for many reasons, mostly from the heat, but also from the delightful flavor combinations and the fact that they're grown in the same way that T grows his beautiful weed and the seeds. It's all regenerative, organic, lots of KNF and Jadam inputs from what I see.
He brought the sauce up to the first melting of the heads in Bellingham.
Yeah, I shamelessly pocketed one of those and brought it home for Hannah because she is our hot sauce connoisseur. T is also doing how we're all trying to find rare and unique hash genetics. T is finding rare and unique pepper seeds and is popping and going through them. So they're unlike almost anything you'll try anywhere else.
The hottest hot sauce I've ever had in my life. I had to put myself back in the cold room in Washington State. No joke. It was so
It's hot. Not for the
joke.
beginner. You should be a hot connoisseur.
All right, T. What other than Trippy Chili and expanding that, which is absolutely due, and the market needs it.
I'm excited in continuing the lineage of Little Lake Valley. Just trying to I'm trying to put the future of hash flavors on my own back and try to take the responsibility forward to create all this new stuff for everybody to utilize, smoke, build companies, use it as medicine, meditative purposes. I mean, whatever, float your boat with it. We need new shit.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, and I think these are the guys to fucking bring it. So let's give it up for everybody on the panel here. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. We appreciate you. We're just going to be chilling. We've got the space, so we're going to be hanging out, smoking some dabs. You guys are welcome to kick it. Tomorrow starts at 10.